I just wanted to hop on here and make a video today on the last day of life as we know it. I don't know. I hope that every assumption that I make, every prediction that I make, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that these are the worst takes because of my status, because of my socioeconomic status, because of just my upbringing, because of being undocumented in America, because DACA, because whatever your status may be, as long as it's not American citizen or permanent resident, even permanent resident, I don't know. It's looking iffy. It's looking like it's going to be a hard time. It's looking like the bricks is on the rise for 2025. It's looking like TikTok is a distraction because it's the biggest distraction of telling the truth, and so they make you think it was bad. I was under the I tried to download TikTok for the first time yesterday, right when it went into effect that you couldn't download it anymore. I figured, I was like, this is my little rebellion against whatever. So I finally decided to get it, and then I couldn't get it, and then I really wanted it after I can't get what you want, whatever. That's some kind of metaphor, I'm sure. But the point is, it's the last day of the Biden administration, right? And we don't know what the truth is about what the future brings, right? But we know what is expected or what the rhetoric is and what we are expecting to happen. And I don't know if it takes place, and I don't want it to. And I hope it was all false vibrato and all that. False vibrato? Whatever. I don't know that it is. I don't know that it's not going to be bad, right? Because it's going to be bad for the people who get affected, because it's going to be show them a show, make a show out of it, and put more fear into these people. And that's part of the battle that I have with trying to finish my sentences in these videos, because I'm in such a state of anxiety when I'm trying to just muscle through it and trying to pretend like everything is good and as usual, where I'm contradicting myself. And that's the beauty of these videos sometimes. That's why it's so cringy to watch myself go through so many contradictions in the video, because it's my inner turmoil, and that's the truth. And that's why I feel a way about it. And then I'm like, I'm sure I'm not the only one experiencing that. And it takes me hours to edit these videos because there's so much things that I cut out because it's too raw sometimes. And I'm not saying, oh, look at me, I'm so raw with all this stuff. It's just things that might be over someone's head, even within the community, because it's something that you experience on a personal level. That, yes, there might be similarities, and some people might be able to listen to your stories and be like, oh, I could see how that's a messed up situation. But it's just traumatic to even go through these things and to think about it, and to just know that Sunday, January 19th, right, where it's like usually these times you relate to Martin Luther King, but it's going to be the transfer of power, and Donald Trump is coming back, and what that means, and all the things that are happening in the world, right? And so it's a lot, even for someone like me who's been talking about this, who, like, primarily these videos have always been about self deportation, about repatriation, about leaving America, right? And it has, and it's the different, and it's so hard to explain because it's not, we're not a monolith, because we're not a monolith, because there's a lot of different reasons why it's different for different people. And it, and like sometimes it's hard to talk about these things because there's people that are technically undocumented, whether you're on DACA or not, right? Whether TPS, whatever, right? But it's like there is a lot of college educated DACA recipients, but it's not. It's like 49%, 48% are the ones with DACA with like college degree, and the numbers are just like, it's just a weird way to think about. Out of the 800,000 subscribers, yeah, 800,000 subscribers, to DACA, because that's what it is. It's a subscription service. It's a 2 year faux citizenship subscription service, right? For the highest that ever was 870,000 or something like that. And from those 870,000, only 68,000 of them are homeowners. So, like, the American dream and the fallacy of what it is to reach it, and for what, like, what I'm trying to explain is that it's like we focused a lot on the DACA recipients, but even within the DACA recipients, there's some DACA recipients that don't have college degrees, and you could have your opinion about them, and it's like, oh, maybe they just didn't try hard, or maybe you just don't know their situation. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's, there's a lot of different stories that could go right. There's a lot of different people that were like little geniuses that were about to go to Harvard and then their dad had a stroke or a heart attack and they had to become the little gardener at 18 years old. We don't know these stories. We don't know, but there's different things and different, there's 12 million, 20 million, right? Undocumented people in the United States. Their stories have to be varying. Their stories have to be completely different. And so it's a lot of these types of things, and we focus a lot on, like, I think a lot about the post-DACA kids, right? The younger generations, the ones that are in the shadows, the ones that are talking about chuecos, and the ones that are talking about fake socials. It's like, how sad. Like, if and then and the people in the middle, that's why it's a disconnect too. The DACA generation in the middle, or not having to have ever worked in the shadows, right? So the older millennials that are DACA recipients, that at one point from the time they graduated high school in 2000 to 2012, and I talked about this all the fucking time, they didn't have anything. So they had to work in the shadows. They had to go and figure out, hey, mister, all these things, right? Those people are completely different, with a different mindset, with a different experience of life, with different traumas than the DACA recipients who were never had accrued lawful presence because they were 17 when they got DACA, and they've had DACA ever since. Now they're 27. They went to college with it. They experienced life closer to the American dream, closer to the American citizen, right? They never had to be a busboy or work at a car wash or whatever, right? Whatever the stereotype, whatever those jobs are, whatever it is, right? And so that's part of all of this, I think. That's part of all of the psychology, why it's harder to pull those things apart, right? It's harder for people to think about these things, because then you have the younger generation who might have been like, well, what the fuck is the purpose of going to college? And so now they're just trying to figure out a job, trying to figure out how to just get anything, how to survive, how to move forward. And so there's fear in all these communities. And there's the DACA recipients are, it's a weird, like, if you look at that breakdown, it's weird because the DACA recipients have so much to lose because they built all these things. There's 68,000 of them that are homeowners, right? But then that's what I'm saying. It's disproportionate to the numbers of home ownership in America, right? And it's just, of course, because they're a disproportionate number of immigrants, right? They're, even DACA recipients are not 1% of the immigrant population in America. So the fact that they're doing so well is dope for that cohort, but there's also people that are left out, and there's also people that were probably included with DACA but were left out because of socioeconomic hardships and the things that is true in America, not just for the undocumented people and for the, but for American citizens who are struggling to find work, for housing. And it's like, we know these stories, right? But it's added layers when it's not so easy, and it's low wage work, and it's all the things that we know about being undocumented in America and what that entails. And for someone to be a DACA recipient, for someone to just sound like this, right? And I'm not saying I speak perfect English or anything, but for someone to sound the way I do and have less ability to move throughout the world, it does something to you, right? This is, like, I don't know what your opinion is on undocumented people, whether the English is assimilated enough for you to understand me, right? Whether that's what it is, or is it just really your racism? Because it has to come down to a point where that's what we have to talk about, because that's what it boils down to. Because what about me is so scary? Like, what about someone that sounds like me or talks like me or thinks like me saying, am I saying radical shit? I'm just observing. Is my observing of the world bad because of my undocumentedness? Like, I don't, it gets to a point where it's like, let's just call it what it is, right? Like, America just is a hater, bro. I just don't know, man. I just don't know, because there's different walks of life, and that's within the undocumented world and within America, and that has to do with all the diversity that is all of that, right? And for us to just focus on the college, like, you see it all the time when the DACA people are like, I've never committed a crime, I've never done this, I've been a good little immigrant. Like, I'm not making fun of them. It gets frustrating because it's like, just the way that you allow yourself to think that way, right? Because it's the brainwashing, and it's what I'm seeing, it's what I'm allowing myself to look at, to be like, we understand, like, you're on DACA because you are a good little immigrant, and it's just never enough. And that's what it is. Like, how long, how many years, and this is for me personally, it's like, how many years can you go in life without someone specifically and explicitly telling you you're not enough, but making your life feel that way? Like, what is it do to you to like have to renew? And if you're gonna sit there and say, I don't care, it's just like getting a driver's license, I guess, yo, but it's like, because you don't have the time to dwell on it, because you're trying to go and figure out how to hustle, because you're part of the hustle culture, because they need you, they need your strong back, little immigrant. That's the thing, yo. And maybe it sounds derogatory, but that's how I feel. It's like, I'm not saying it against anyone else. It's like, yo, this is the truth. This is the history of America. And if you don't know, then you don't want to know, right? You, like, that's what it's crazy. It's like, and it's, I'm tired of not knowing. I'm tired of feeling like I have the answer and I want to go test it. And if I'm wrong, let me be wrong, right? And if America is the greatest country in the world, then why ban TikTok? Because it tells you the truth, because it's too real, because it doesn't let you control the narrative. So it lets you see that China isn't this crazy wicked city, but it's a crazy wicked futuristic city, right? Because they tell you that Israel is committing war crimes and they're doing what they're doing to the Palestinians, and it's not fair, and it lets you see the truth. So let's cut that down. I don't know. I guess that's exceptionalism. I'm just tired of it, yo. And maybe I'm wrong, and I'll be wrong, and I'll be laughed at, but at least I'll feel better, because just letting myself think this way and be wrong about all these things, if that's what the case is, it helps me feel better, because I could watch back these videos and be like, look that up. That makes somewhat sense. And then I could feel better knowing that I'm not too far off, even if it's just conjecture, yo. I don't know. But it's just something that I'm going through, and I struggled because the video that I made yesterday that I was working on for hours, yo, because I just let myself go and I had to edit out like a lot. So, whatever. I just know that I feel like the beginning of COVID last time, right? Feels like dark times are coming. I don't know. Tomorrow's the 20th of January, and on the 21st, there will be some crazy thing on the news about some crazy cruelty, and the American populace will just stand there and let it happen. And 20 years from now, when the history of this time is being written, and we figure out how this was the beginning of the end, right? And I hope I'm wrong. I hope all my predictions are just full of shit, and this is just my sci-fi mind thinking. I'm Altadena, Pasadena area, bro. Octavia Butler. And I hope this is just my mind wandering and being wrong and making assumptions. But I hope it gets better, because I don't want this moment to be looked back in history and be like, oh, this was the downfall. This was the feeling you were feeling on January 19th, 2025, before it all came crumbling down. I don't know. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. Peace.